This game made as much sense as if 1 + 1 = 3. Zero sense. Hello and welcome back to the show. I'm in disbelief. As the game unfolded, after the game, everything about it. I believe in miracles, but I didn't think Everton were going to be on the receiving end and on the positive side of things with regards to that miracle. Everton pull one out of nowhere, winning 5-1 to Brighton. Now, who would have thought it would take a really shitty, wet evening in the south to get this one done and produce this? I mean, we hadn't had an away win since Southampton in October last year. We'd had one win out of 10. Brighton had won 4 of their last 5, just coming off a recent victory against United. We had drawn 4 of our last 5. And talk about winning against the odds. That was exactly this. But it wasn't just, a narrow victory. This was an utter dismantling of a very good football side that didn't show up. This game had everything. Goals from minute 1. We had yellow cards. Onana was booked from the bench while he was sitting on the side. It felt like an Everton home game with all the chants going on, really overpowering the home crowd, which was nowhere to be seen, much like the team on the day. But look, I think everything that happened in this game is compensated for all the shit we've had to endure this season. I mean, we'd scored 5 goals in 6 games and then come out and score 15% of our season's goals in 1. And look, I mean, the first thing I can say is relish this experience because we have been starved of this for so long. In my time of following this club religiously, I can't recall a game where we've won this convincingly and, especially given the circumstances, been so impressive. And I constantly preach minute 1 to minute 90, we were consistently good. We were unbelievable in so many different ways. We talk about class, when it was a player's time to go, they went. We were composed and level-headed. That was with and without possession. We obviously had to endure a lot of pressure in the second half, but in the first half, we were very, very good on the ball. We talk about discipline. Obviously, we picked up a ton of yellow cards in the first half. It's very easy to commit a rash challenge and then your game's gone and then the game changes invariably because of that. So we did well there as well. Skill, there was plenty of that as well. I think we looked very, very fluent with our passing game today. It didn't seem stagnant or clunky at times as it usually is. And I think the big thing is determination and grit. We had 53 clearances, so if that really doesn't paint a picture about how much we had to endure and obviously fight through, then I don't know what does. We were chasing 50-50s, blocking shots, keeping them off the goal line. This was a complete performance. The fact we only conceded 1 goal in that second half with all the pressure mounting corner after corner, it's incredibly impressive what we were able to do, and that is a huge step in getting us to safety because that's the kind of mentality needed, and Sean Dyche has preached exactly this. Look, got to give a lot of credit to Sean Dyche. I think from even pre-game, when the team lineups were announced, Patterson, Yerry Mina in the side, Garner held his spot. It really created the balance we've needed, and those players stood up. Obviously, you've got to relay the faith, or if that makes any sense. You've been given the opportunity to play in the best 11. You need to take that opportunity with both hands and perform. And Nathan Patterson and Yerry Mina, added a new element to the team that we haven't seen for quite some time. And it's going to be all about consistency, but obviously you don't really need a lot of consistency given we've only got 3 games left. It's about getting a couple results. And even if it's a win or a draw, those points are massive given how things are shaping at the bottom of the table. From minute 1, we looked on. Obviously, because we scored the goal and that really set the tone, we could sort of dictate the game. Brighton already looked shell-shocked, given they'd conceded in 30 seconds. So that gave us, a leg up on them. And look, I think the plan was just executed very, very well. We made the right pass and we stayed composed on the counter-attack, which is something we haven't been able to do all season long. We were actually clinical with our finishing and our passing, you know, navigating and maneuvering through certain situations. Sometimes we don't know when to pull the trigger on the pass. Sometimes we don't know where the space is. And today we're able to do that in many different instances. And I think another big thing is we were very, very opportunistic. We hadn't been able to string together like 3 passes for like a good 30 minutes. And the second time it did happen, we scored from it, which was, I mean, that really summed things up. You know, we talk about possession numbers. 22% possession is what we had. I think we had like 150 passes on the evening, but the passes we did make were very, very forward thinking and positive. Something that we, you know, haven't really been able to capitalize on too much. But today, Brighton looked exposed. I think they were chasing too much down the wings, and Doucoure and McNeil were thriving on those counter-attacks with not really much support on the wings. And those centre-backs were basically left on an island because, you know, they simply didn't have the help that they needed. And we were flooding forward. We had the outnumber, even though, you know, in theory, it shouldn't have been that way, especially for a Brighton team who are very, very well trained and well drilled. And to talk about being opportunistic, we talk about the 7 counter-attacks we had. We created 4 shots from those, and we scored 3 goals from those. So that's a very, very high conversion. And for a team who doesn't usually do a very good job of capitalizing on opportunities and leaving the opportunity begging, that is an incredibly good return and something we have been crying out for ages. Now, before we leave, we'll talk about the player of the match. I mean, everyone on this pitch, the 11 players that took to the field for the vast majority of the game, they held up their end of the bargain. I don't think there was one player, and this is the first time I can say this season, probably outside of the Palace game, that everyone can hold their head up high and, you know, weren't holding this team back and lagging behind. Dwight McNeil is the clear number 1 for a lot of people today, and understandably why, because he scored 2 goals that were absolutely brilliant, 1 assist, and also, you know, the own goal that was scored was off him. So, you know, it was a well-rounded performance. He nearly ran 13 kilometers today, which is just an incredible number, and he was doing it right to the end when he scored that 5th goal. You know, he was running into the space, full pelt. He didn't look really tired at all or fatigued, and I think that's something that we had the advantage in last week. And this week, obviously, we were able to put the final nail in the coffin, which I wish we could have done last week, given Leicester are basically a bunch of traffic cones at the back. But look, he was excellent today, passing to release players. That was awesome. Did the defensive work as well, got back. I think that was a really important thing of a lot of players, you know, on the attacking side. They were also willing to help and defend, especially against the Brighton team, who have got some certain plays you don't want to let off the leash. DCL's hold up, his dynamic movement, I think he won 9 of his aerial duels, 9 of his 13 aerial duels, which is exactly what we need. Very, very good on the ball. Sometimes he would, you know, come back and help and support, especially when we didn't seem to have an outlet. But DCL's spin on the first goal was exactly what we needed. He did it a couple times and Lewis Dunk was lost. That's what we needed. But my 2 player of the games today, players of the game, is Nathan Patterson and Jordan Pickford. Now, I'll talk about Nathan Patterson first. Nathan Patterson, the first 20 minutes could have been incredibly bad. I mean, we talk about us scoring the first goal. You know, Patterson did a really good job to, you know, fend off the pressure that Matoma was giving, because they were feeding him out wide. And Patterson sometimes was bypassed, and, you know, we could have been punished for it. We weren't. And then once Patterson sort of had tabs or kept tabs on Matoma, he knew what to expect and then could play his own game. And I think that's what he did incredibly well. And Matoma was nowhere to be found in the second half. And they decided and opted to feed Solly March on the other side. But look, I mean, Patterson, he knew when to go off his man or vacate the wing to, you know, cover for his teammates who perhaps have had to push across to the other side of the pitch. I think he was incredibly good and ensured that one of their better players, who has been on a tear this season, a breakout player, if you will, he just had zero impact. And I couldn't say anything else but nice things about Nathan Patterson in this game. And then you talk about, you know, how we last week came in pretty unannounced, given Seamus Coleman went down. It was a pretty out of the blue kind of thing. He did well there. He really stood up to the challenge, and today he didn't really back down at all, which is exactly what we need. And that's the mentality that Sean Dyche has been preaching. No matter the opponent, you just got to go out there and play your best brand, and Nathan Patterson really fed that narrative. The other player of the match, Jordan Pickford, I mean, his saves were incredibly important, because you talk about the cushioning we had if we conceded a goal when he made those crucial saves, which he deflected off the post. It could have been a lot of a different ball game. Brighton could have had their heads up, their chins up, and potentially would have been able to close the gap a little bit more, capitalize on the vulnerability and the, you know, the angst that was felt in the building by the Evertonians, the fans and the players alike. Those saves were just crucial, and I think a lot more crucial than a lot of people will give him credit for. So I'm going to give him player of the match. Even just the brilliance of those saves as well, like fully outstretched. A lot of keepers aren't making that save, or it may look a little bit more impressive because he's got T-Rex arms, but you know what I'm saying. Like, he's just been instrumental in getting us in the position we are in now. You know, we talk about the save last game and then obviously the saves this game. I mean, if we didn't have Jordan Pickford, I don't know where we would be. But obviously you can't discount all the other players. Yerry Mina on return was very, very immense at the back. I mean, it just feels like he brings a level of ease that I haven't felt all season when we're watching this team defensively. He was just, there was no doubt about his play. Very, very confident in what he was doing. He didn't really back down either. Doucoure, just a workhorse. He scored the 2 goals. The class on those finishes were excellent. Iwobi, his dribbling to get out of trouble at times and release players in those counter-attacking kind of positions. Idrissa Gana Gueye doing well to, you know, cram those little areas in the middle of the park where Brighton obviously were trying to get into, you know, in conjunction with what Abdoulaye Doucoure was doing as well, and James Garner. As I said, no one didn't rock up, and it's the first time I can say that. De Zerbi said pre-game for the Brighton press conference that Everton are a good team and we've got to be careful. Everyone was like, you're kidding yourself. You haven't watched this team play because they suck. But it turns out he knew something that we simply didn't know. And look, I'm not complaining. Now, the big thing is, I think the key message out of all this is anything can happen in the Premier League. And as much as, you know, we could be safe because of a result like this, we also could drop back down into the drop zone because of a game like this. I mean, Leeds have got some tough fixtures ahead, and so do Leicester. Just because we've got 2 points on them, it doesn't mean that's an excuse to be complacent, because we're by no means safe. You know, a game like this, where Leeds or Leicester are the recipients of a good result, can put us back in a position of turmoil. So we've got to continue to acknowledge the fact that the destiny of this club is in our hands. We've got Man City next. What a big game at Goodison. It's the second last one of the season, so if we can get a result there, like a draw or something along those lines, I would take a point every day of the week, so then we can potentially capitalize on those last 2 games of the season. This is just crazy stuff. I can't believe we won 5-1 today. You don't understand how large the 3 points are. I think you do, if you're an Evertonian. But if you're not, you don't understand how big those 3 points are. Because on paper, we sure as hell were not backed in to win it. If you did enjoy this one, make sure to drop a like and subscribe. We will see you for the post-game of Everton Man City. Thank you. Have a good one. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.